A study from Urban Institute found that as of 2022, nearly 40% of millennials were on track not to have enough money saved for retirement by the age of 70. Well, with suggestions of even potentially raising the Social Security retirement age in the coming years, it's more important than ever for young people to save as much as they can. So joining me now to advise us on how to make sure our money can work for us in our golden years is CEO of Tai Young Wealth Management, Tai Young himself. Tai, welcome.
Thanks, Trisha, for having me. It's good to see you.
Yes, good to have you as we start the second quarter together. So why are you finding that millennials and Gen Z don't have enough money saved for retirement?
They're just not focused on it. They're focused on, raising children and buying houses, and it's just not their number one focus. But the reality is that if you're 20 or 30 years old, you have a tremendous advantage over people like, myself or even Warren Buffett, because you have time. Warren Buffett would probably trade his fortune to be 20 or 30 years old again. So you have an advantage he doesn't have. And when you're a millennial and you're thinking about retirement, he's got to keep it simple. There's three main steps. You take advantage of compound interest, you legally avoid taxes, and you keep it simple, right? If you have a 401k, you should take advantage of that 401k. Take the match. The match is free money. So at least put as much in there to get the match. If you can max it out, that's great. And then a Roth IRA is fantastic as well. I mean, one of the biggest expenses we're going to have over the next 20, 30, 40 years is taxes. Millennials are going to have that expense. So if they can avoid those taxes, that's huge. So they start a Roth IRA. That money they make in there is tax-free money. And listen to this. If you put $7,000, and that's the max you can put into a Roth IRA right now if you're under the age of 50. So if you're millennial, you can do that. If that money grows at market rates of return based on history, that's $7,000. If you're 20, when you're 70, 50 years from now, is worth over $800,000. That is the power of compound interest. So millennials should be encouraged because they have time for the magic of compound interest.
It is definitely something that I think, more education is key here, certainly, Tai. So I'm glad that you can join us. I also see, according to a 2020 Upwork report, that nearly half of millennials and Gen Z work freelance jobs. And so what are some of the retirement savings solutions, perhaps outside of that traditional 401k?
Well, the Roth IRA that I just mentioned is fantastic. If you have earned income, you can put money into that. If you own your own business, you can start a number of different kinds of retirement plans. A SEP IRA is a fantastic one because you can put a lot more than $7,000 into that as a self-employed type individual. You can use an annuity. An annuity will allow your money to grow tax deferred. So there's a number of tax free or tax smart options that you have as a millennial to take advantage of compound interest. And again, if you avoid taxes, you get to make money on the money that you would have sent to the IRS, compound interest on the money that you would have sent to the IRS. So that's huge. And a suggestion as an investment, what I would say, if you're 20 or 30 years old, you've got time to absorb the volatility of the market. You can use a very low fee index fund. And allow your money to grow. If you're a little bit risk averse, there's options that you have where your money's protected against losses, and you can still grow your money as time goes on. But what I would say to millennials is get started soon, put as much money in as you can, and something is always better than nothing, right? If you can do something, get started, generate some momentum, right? And if you can live below your means, and not every millennial can. It's not easy out there right now with inflation the way we've had it. I recognize that. But if you can do something, do that. If you can get 10% of your income and put that away over a long period of time, that will be meaningful to you. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be part of the percentage of people that don't. You want to be part of the percentage of people who do have money in retirement, and getting started now is all the difference in the world.
So, Tai, walk us through just how much the average worker should be saving for retirement per year in their 20s and 30s?
Well, it is as much as they possibly can, right? And so different people are in different situations. But what I would say is I would start with 10%. If you can put 10% of that 401k, if you have that available to you, get the match, which is essentially free money, compound interest, if you don't have the 401k available to, we mentioned the Roth, but at least 10% of your income, right? And you want to pay yourself first, right? And then put that money in a place where it's going to grow with compound years. So a minimum of 10%, more if you can. But again, something is always better than nothing. It's important to get started. And as time goes on, as you get older and older, you want to put more and more in those plans, but you have more power of compound interest early. So
Yeah.
what I would say is 10% of your income is a good starting place.
Okay, good. So, how should young people prioritize what can be a difficult decision, right? Of saving for retirement versus expenses like paying down debt and saving for a home?
Great question. Great question. And those are the concerns that people have. What is my student debt? How do I pay that off? Paying or buying a house. You have to have a place to live. It's important to have to grow equity as time goes on. So it's a balancing act. What I would say is if you can buy, that's better than renting. In terms of paying down debt, it really comes down to what is the interest on that debt. If the interest on the debt is 12%, you want to pay that down as quickly as you possibly can. If the interest on the debt, maybe you have a mortgage at 3.25%, and many millennials do. Well, if you would prioritize the savings for retirement at that point, keep that loan because that loan's such at a low rate. So it really comes down to what's the interest rate? Can you make more than the interest rate that you're paying? Is there a tax advantage that goes along with the interest rate? And again, you want to keep it as simple as you can, but that's something to look at when it comes to debt and owning a home. I'm a big proponent of owning a home. And maybe you do that first before you plan for retirement. Maybe you do a little bit of both. It comes down to your own individual situation.
You know, there's been so much hype around artificial intelligence since the first use case of ChatGPT toward the end of 2022. And so the past 15 months or so, I mean, we've seen these tech stocks, especially AI plays like NVIDIA, absolutely skyrocket. Even cryptocurrency this year, a good gauge of risk appetite in the stock market, definitely took off in the first quarter on the back of those Bitcoin ETF approvals. AI stocks, cryptocurrency, are those investments that you would recommend to people in their retirement portfolios?
The answer is if you're 20 or 30 years old, absolutely yes, in moderation. I mean, do I want 100% of anybody's portfolio in a cryptocurrency or an AI stock? No, I don't. But I would rather they had the bulk of their money in a diversified index mutual fund. And maybe if you want 5 or 10% of your portfolio in those higher risk investments, I think that's fine, especially if you're 20 or 30 years old. But as you get older, closer to retirement, you want less and less of those things. But everybody wants to taste the 20, 30, 40% returns if they can get it. But you have to understand there is the risk. The more the return, the greater the risk, and that's the balancing act. So we would recommend diversification, but a small piece of those might be fun to own.
So for investors, we know that volatility happens, right? There are many different gauges of volatility in the stock market. The VIX is probably the most common one, but volatility is just part of the nature of stocks. And we've seen a heck of a whole lot of it the past 4 years after many years of relative calm. What would you tell our viewers if we do run into volatility in stocks as it pertains to their investments?
Great question. And that's what happens. Most people have a lot of risk tolerance when things are going up, right? They're okay with it because they want to make the money. Now, on the other side of that, most people are not okay with risk when the market's going down. And so it's kind of funny just the way I say that, but that's the truth. So as people get older, as they become more risk averse, we use products that allow them to minimize the risk in their portfolio, but still grow their money at the same time. Most of our clients are between the ages of about 55 and 75. And essentially what they want is growth of their money, but they don't want that very volatility that you're describing. And what we do for them is I put together an investor's guide for them, and your viewers can check it out at tyjyoung.com. They can get one at no charge if they have more than $100,000 to invest. And it shows them how to go up with the stock market, lock in their gains on an annual basis. And when the market goes down, they don't lose anything. And if you're 55, 65 years old, You want a large portion of your money protected and growing. That's what we do for our clients. That vehicle is called a fixed index annuity, by the way. And if you're 20 or 30 years old and a millennial and you don't want the risk of the market and you want growth, it might be right for you as well. So you can mitigate that risk and still have a very competitive, reasonable rate of return as time goes on.
You know, something that I think is common is young people switching jobs, right? Trying to find places that have the most opportunity for them, trying to get a better wage, certainly trying to take advantage in some cases of what's been a relatively robust jobs market these past few years. What are some options or even recommendations that you would share with our viewers to make sure that their retirement savings are still growing and successfully transferring if they are switching employers?
It's funny you say that. That we're running into that a lot right now, talking to people that have 5 or 6 different 401ks from different employers over the last 10 or 15 years or even longer. And because they have 5 or 6 different 401ks at different custodians, a lot of times they're not really paying attention to what's happening into those individual accounts. And if they're not very much money, sometimes people actually forget where that money actually is. So that's the circumstance that we're seeing with people rolling from job to job to job, which, in this environment, that's how the job market works and that's how you move up. So that's okay. So what do? Well, you've got a couple of choices. One choice you can do is take all those 401ks and roll it into your current employer's 401k. That way it's all in one place. The other option that I like even better is to take those 401ks and roll them over into an IRA, a self-directed IRA. Inside that self-directed IRA, you can buy anything you want: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, index annuities, cryptocurrency, whatever you want. You have those options, but it's all in one place, easy to manage. And if you change jobs again, you can roll that 401k from that job into that IRA. It's one consolidated place to have your money invested in growing, where you can management simple and easy to understand, simple and easy to manage. So the thing that we're seeing is a lot of 401ks, a lot of places roll them into one IRA. It makes it simple. And really, when it comes to investing over a long period of time, keeping it simple is so very important. If you don't want to be staring at your computer 40 hours a week, most people want to do it and just keep it simple. That's the way to do it. Have it in one place.
All right, Tai Young, CEO of Tai Young Wealth Management. Tai, great to have you on the show, especially as we start a second quarter.